We were talking about shooting guards. After this NBA season, who do you guys think is the best shooting guard in the NBA?
The best shooting guard in the NBA right now is Anthony Edwards. Moving forward.
You fell off, man.
The fact he didn't say Devin Booker, bro, he's not a fan to anything or anyone.
The reason why
not a fan to anything or anyone,
I say that,
don't want to hear it.
Devin Booker is like a 1B to me, but when looking at Anthony Edwards' ascension this last year and his consistency leading up to that Maverick series in the postseason, you're looking at a guy who continues to rise his game and brings that scoring gravitas like D Book brings in the playoffs. But defensively, he's on a higher level. And I think as a passer, we're continuing to see, I know, big word here for the kid that can't pass an algebra class. We're continuing to see.
Nothing to do with English.
I know.
Yeah, he botched that shit. He botched that.
Cut me a break. It's been 3 hours of recording.
You didn't even have to say that. You chose to say that phrase. Like,
I was gonna let it rock. You know.
Yeah, I don't know why. Honestly, like now I think about it, I really shouldn't have said that. But Anthony Edwards continues to cut that margin as a passer, slower and smaller to the point where I think defensively brings more than Book. And I can't overlook the fact, too, Booker couldn't get a game from him. Like that, too, if there's any sort of tiebreaker here, it's the fact that D-Book's asses got swept by Ant-Man. So I have to give him that acknowledgement because, like, that's an embarrassing thing. And I think if you're the best shooting guard in the league and you're playing alongside an All-NBA player in Kevin Durant, you just can't get swept like that.
All right, awesome. The best shooting guard in the NBA is Jaylen Brown. And here's why. Everyone likes to talk shit about
My goodness.
Being a championship level player on your team. Are you going to be able to lead as the best to win a championship? Jaylen Brown actually did it. Donovan didn't do it. Devin Booker didn't do it. He tried, lost to Milwaukee. Anthony Edwards thought it was his time. He beat Denver. Big ups. You lose in 5 games to the Dallas Mavericks. Jaylen Brown actually handled business, and everything that they said that Donovan, Anthony Edwards, and Devin Booker could do, Jaylen Brown actually just did and was Finals MVP. So that's the best 2 guard in the NBA. Go ahead and talk all the shit you want to relevant to.
Could you imagine if Anthony Edwards, Mitchell, or Devin Booker won an NBA championship and they didn't lead the team in points, rebounds, or assists the entire way there? And in the finals, they didn't
never win.
In the finals, they didn't lead the team in points and rebounds
like
and assists either.
Jaylen Brown is one of the best defensive players in the league, especially given
he
his
might not be like top 15.
Jaylen Brown.
Read off a script, bro.
Jaylen Brown is exceptional. He's an exceptional 2-way player. Here's the case against Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum is the best player on the Celtics. He led them in points, rebounds, and assists.
No,
Jason Tatum's a
And also, I feel like what we cannot overlook is while Jaylen Brown's defense on Luka was amazing, the biggest part of that series was Jason Tatum guarding the centers and taking away lobs away from Dallas's offense. When you look at the numbers, Jaylen Brown held Luka to 9 for 22 from the field. You want to know who was statistically a better defender than Jaylen Brown? Al Horford. He held Luka to 9 for 28 on the field. He guarded more shots from Luka in a smaller period of time because Luka was hunting him, and Al Horford holding his own in those matchups is what suffocated Dallas's offense so much. So while I do respect Jaylen Brown, I mean, Donovan Mitchell gave him the business in the second round. Pascal Siakam in the conference finals gave him the business. And this is not a knock to Jaylen Brown, but if he were to have the offensive responsibility of Ant-Man, Mitchell, and Devin Booker, he wouldn't be an elite defender. Last year, he had an offensive responsibility that maybe rivaled those guys, and he averaged 27, and he wasn't a good defender last year. I'm talking about not this past year, the year they won the finals. You guys know what I'm talking about. And there are stats to back that up. It was never about what Jaylen Brown could be, but when you ask him to do more on offense, the defense has shown to fall off.
Who's the best scorer in the finals?
Jaylen Brown.
The Boston Celtics.
Jaylen
I
Brown.
mean, the team with a 20-point per game score?
Who was
Doesn't really
the
matter.
20 point per game because of Game 4 and Game 5?
Yeah.
Who played better against Dallas's defense, Anthony Edwards or Jaylen Brown?
Jaylen Brown.
Anthony Edwards averaged 27 in this series.
Off the last few games.
Yeah, he wasn't that good against
They were both 5-game series.
Game 4 and Game 5, Jaylen Brown was bad, but games 1, 2, and 3, he was near perfect.
I'm looking it up right now. Don't worry, bro. I'm on it.
No, I know he would. No, Anthony Edwards was awesome in games 3.
No, I'm
4,
talking about
5.
Jaylen Brown. You said games what?
Games 1, 2, and 3, Jaylen Brown was near perfect.
Okay, he averaged 24. 6 and 6.
Anthony Edwards in Game 3, 26, 9 and 9. Game 4, 29, 10 and 9. And Game 5, 28, 9 and 6.
Yeah, that last game irrelevant. They got smoked.
I love you, Drew. I think the issue that I'm having here is that, to piggyback off your point before, Jaylen Brown could not handle the responsibilities that the guys in the top three simply have, especially Donovan Mitchell. I mean, what he did in the postseason, you're not going to see Jaylen Brown doing that. And,
Game three.
you take Jaylen Brown
It happened game 3.
for one game.
Jason Tatum
You love that one isolated game.
One isolated game was the NBA
Right.
Finals.
Right. I understand, but there's a larger sample size here of an entire run. And, I mean, you take the 3 best years of Jalen Brunson as a scorer. Take his best years of scoring. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
In the regular season, that's still not even going to compare to Anthony Edwards' playoff resume in his 3 years making the playoffs. So I think Brown deserves that credit to be in the top 4. He is he's the best number 2 in the game. But you really can't put him in the top 3 to me.
You just said it. He's the best number 2 in the game.
I agree with that.
You know, I think Jaylen Brown, he deserves an insane amount of credit. He does, and I respect you for saying he's the best shooting guard in the league.
Credit to you, man.
It's just a lot of projecting with him being the number 1 guy, and that's no knock. He's in a row he's in, but I think Devin Booker, Mitchell, and Anthony Edwards could be the second guy to Tatum and win a championship too. And that's not a knock on Jaylen Brown. It's just these guys are really good too. Devin Booker led a team to the finals and was the best player in the finals for his team, and he had a 40-point game in the finals. He was really good. Yeah.
240 balls.
240 balls. Donovan Mitchell, in the playoffs, he just averaged 35 and 5 on excellent efficiency. He was amazing. And Anthony Edwards, he had 3 40-point games in his playoffs, 2 30-point games, and averaged 28, 7, and 7 on 60% true shooting. He was unbelievable. And that's why I think Ant-Man's the best shooting guard in the league, because I feel like when you look at the regular season and the postseason and you combine it, who had the best season, I thought it was Anthony Edwards, start to finish.
No, for sure. I mean, I think a lot of people go off finals and the performances, and I get that. But I think all 3 of you guys hit the nail on the head. Essentially, he's the second option to Jason Tatum. And there's people that were arguing that Jason Tatum should have won MVP. He did lead in points, rebounds, and assists. I thought it was a toss-up. I was cool with Jaylen Brown winning it. I would have been cool with Jason Tatum winning it. But, I feel like comparing a second option to people that won, Devin Booker's led a team to a championship. To a finals, yeah. Anthony Edwards led Minnesota to the Western Conference Finals in a loaded West. These guys, and Donovan Mitchell's, these guys are the main options of their team. And like Joel said, I mean, the season last year, I believe when Jaylen Brown averaged, 27 points per game when he had more of an offensive load, the defense was terrible that entire season. It wasn't good. I think, this is, for lack of a better word, this is just a plug-in, but I feel the same way. I think if we put Anthony Edwards on Boston, I think he have even better numbers than what Jaylen Brown won Finals MVP with. Same thing with Devin Booker. Same thing with Donovan Mitchell. I think if those guys were on Boston and Jason Tatum had the series that he did, there wouldn't be a question on them winning the Finals MVP, because I feel like they would have been completely dominant. I think Anthony Edwards is the best shooting guard in the NBA. I think he's a better defender than Jaylen Brown. I think is he a better scorer? I mean, Jaylen Brown's a really good scorer. I think they're neck and neck as a scorer. I just like his trajectory. I like the fact that he can lead a team to the playoffs as a 1. Jaylen Brown, we have yet to see that. We can say he was the Finals MVP, but like I said, you can retort that with maybe Jason Tatum deserved this. So I'm taking those. I would take Anthony Edwards over him. The other 2, I mean, they're debatable, but I don't feel comfortable comparing a guy who's honestly a number 2 to number 1 and talents that are carrying their teams. So I'm taking him in.
I thought somebody here would go Devin Booker. Unfortunately, he didn't get no love here.
He fell off, man.
I thought somebody was
John
gonna.
fell off.
I didn't fall off.
I thought somebody was gonna grab
I
Devin
wasn't the
Booker.
one that got swept in the first round.
Not shocked at Joel for saying Anthony Edwards. Of course, not shocked. Definitely a little shocked that Drew went the Jaylen Brown route today, but he's been a fan, so I understand it. I respect it. The best shooting guard in the league is Donovan Mitchell. I don't know what's going on in this world, but it was hard to say this last year because of the Knicks series. He did not play well. He owned up to it, but I think last year he had the best regular season out the big 3. Before I even go on this monologue, let me start by saying Jaylen Brown is not better than none of these 3 guys. Shout out to him. He won Finals MVP. So did Andre Iguodala. But for sure, Jaylen Brown is not he's the 4th best shooting guard in the league. There's nothing wrong with that. He has room to improve and get better. And he can get better. He can 100% get better. But in terms of all these 4 guys, he's probably the worst scorer. He's undoubtedly the worst playmaker out the bunch. Probably the best defender for sure. But even then, this was the first year he's put it all together on defense. That is a fact. That is a fact. That's not fiction. This is the first time he's put the on-ball and the off-ball defense together for a full season. He was amazing at it, for sure. But like you mentioned, he took a little bit less responsibility on offense because they brought in Drew Holiday. No shame in that. They brought in Porzingis. So he was able to get back to that defensive effort and become a true I'm going to go get a bucket, and then I'm going to go lock your best player up. True definition of a two-way player. Shout out to you for that. You were still the 4th best shooting guard in the league. Now, to get on to the big 2, because I think Devin Booker is comfortably 3rd, especially after the way he played against the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think, first of all, these 3 guys can shuffle year to year.
Yeah.
You know, they're so good, and Devin Booker and Donovan Mitchell are still really young. You know, they're hitting their primes. Ant-Man is probably going to be so much better than both of them in his prime, but as of right now, they can shuffle year by year. I do think right now, for me, it's a Donovan Mitchell versus Ant-Man thing because I think both of them had amazing playoff runs, you know, and I think, unfortunately, like you mentioned, Ant-Man did outplay Devin Booker. You know, granted, Devin Booker played a better defense, but Devin Booker he didn't look like Devin Booker at all. Like, he looked lost completely. Game 4 sounds cool. They got
that was just the last game of the series.
49, right?
Yeah, that was just a fight for your life. I like that he went out with a bang. Yeah.
He did.
But, you know, I think...
Man.
Out of
21
Anthony
shots.
Edwards versus Donovan Mitchell, I prefer Donovan Mitchell's offensive game a little bit more. I think he's a better playmaker. I do think he's a better shooter. I think he can get to the cup just as good. I like Donovan Mitchell's in-between game more. The defense, I understand it with Ant-Man. He can defend really well, but I don't think Donovan Mitchell is a slouch on defense. I think he's solid defensively, and what he brings offensively to that Cleveland Cavaliers team is really different. And back-to-back regular seasons, he's improved dramatically. He's been amazing in both. I think the playoffs is why Ant-Man versus Donovan Mitchell is the discussion, because I think in the regular season Donovan Mitchell has been better both years, but the playoffs is where Ant-Man has risen a dramatic amount. And like I said before, the Donovan Mitchell, the Knicks series really put him down a little bit. So I understand having
Ant-Man. He came
back
this year, though.
Yeah, he came back on a mission against 2 elite defenses. So I understand having Ant at 1, but for me, I got to give the respect and the love to Donovan Mitchell. I do think he's the best 2 guard in the league.
I think no matter how you have this list, the 4 best shooting guards are Anthony Edwards, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, Jaylen Brown. You can put in whatever order you want, but
no, you cannot. Jaylen Brown cannot be 1.
Jaylen Brown's number 1, Rick.
But they are the best 4. After that, I had Kyrie Irving at 5. I think he's the next best shooting guard.
You know what's crazy? We did a Would You Rather before some series, and Kyrie was above Jaylen Brown. Now, after the playoffs, Kyrie has dropped under Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown won Finals MVP, and Kyrie Irving just didn't show up. These are players that I don't classify as shooting guards. I classify them as point guards. James Harden, DeJounte Murray, Emmanuel Quickley, and Anthony Simons. So just want to let that be known.
Tyrese Maxey.
Tyrese Maxey is an excellent name. He's a point guard too to me. He's a point guard. Number 6, I had Desmond Bane.
Great pick.
That's my 6 best shooting guard. Number 7, 8, 9, 10 is Bradley Beal, CJ McCollum, Devin Vassell, and Zach LaVine.
Good heavens.
Zach LaVine is better than Bradley Beal.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
I think he's better than Devin Vassell, too.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not going to lie. He might be better than everybody you just said in front of him.
Beal is
Except Desmond
one
Bane.
of, if not the most disappointing player this last season.
I can't argue with Zach LaVine. It's just he wasn't healthy this past year.
Yeah.
And the season he was having before he got hurt wasn't that great.
I think you're buying
He was hurt.
you're buying the Levine stock at its lowest point right now. Like 2 years ago in 2022, people are saying if he has a good playoff run, he could be making a case for the best shooting guard in the league.
Hear me out. Desmond Bane may be better than both.
Both who?
You said Zach LaVine.
Oh, he's way better than
No,
both.
I know we have Bane above both.
Yeah,
Definitely
he
better
clears
than
Bane is
Bradley
better.
Beal.
Yeah,
Definitely
he
better
clears
than
that,
Bradley
in my
Beal.
opinion.
No, we have Bane above both.
Bradley Beal.
But
Bane is
here.
leveled up.
I
Bane
think
is
it's
good.
tough.
it can only go up from here for Levine. It can't go further down.
Bane is nice.
We've always
as hell.
been.
Desmond Bane.
We've always been.
He's the guy. He's the guy.
Good.
No, but yeah, so how would you have it? So number 7, who would you have? You had Zach LaVine over McCollum, Beal, and Vassell?
You don't classify McCollum as a 1?
Yeah, he was running the 1.
Yeah,
for
it was
New
weird
Orleans
to
this year.
me.
No, he's a weird one.
I
He's
have
just
McCollum as a
always
2.
been a 2 for me,
He's a
like my
tweener.
entire
He's a
life.
tweener. Yep.
I would put Zach at 7. I think you can put. Beal is such a tough one.
Would you put Levine over Dante DiVincenzo? Because I would not.
Yes, Levine is a better basketball player than Dante DiVincenzo. You're being funny.
John, what are you doing?
I know. I get it. This year was terrible. He was injured before he got injured.
DiVincenzo had a remarkable season.
He averaged
8
15
threes.
though.
Okay, 8 threes, 40%, 9 threes actually. Played
15
81 games,
if
47% mid range.
Zach took
Better
7
defender.
threes last year and was at 38%. And they're probably more difficult. No, there isn't a probably. They're more difficult.
if Zach
Definitely.
LaVine averaged 15, we'd be saying he's washed.
Yes.
That's a
He's
career.
averaging
That's
19
a career.
and we're talking about he's washed.
That's a career season for Dante.
Yeah.
He's a role player. Most of his shots are off catch and shoot from Jaylen Brown.
He's a sniper, though.
He's an amazing sniper.
Bradley Beal or CJ McCollum.
Bradley Beal is just falling off such a bad.
Beal quietly didn't have a bad year.
He had a good season.
Yeah, he shot 43% from
Did
three.
he even play in the playoffs? That's how bad I don't remember.
He was getting cooked.
He played. He just played like shit.
Exactly. He was so
they
bad.
ripped his heart out.
It was one of the most disappointing things this year.
I would go Bradley Beal.
I'm going Beal.
I don't feel good about it.
And Vassell's 10.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine. I don't mind. I'm not mad if it's sell at 9 either.
DeJounte Murray.
He doesn't classify as a 2 guard.
Yeah, I had him as a point guard.
I thought Maxey, but I
He
don't
played
know.
a majority too.
Point
though.
guard more so.
I know.
Point guard.
He was at his
More
best
so
when
point
Trey
guard.
was out.
That's facts. That's facts.
Because I feel like the next team that DeJounte gets traded to is going to be a point guard. I don't think they're going to run him at the
Antonio.
2.
If he goes back to San Antonio, it's up.
Yeah, that's a good
His
explanation.
contract isn't terrible.